So you want to know which new 911 is the quickest around a track? Lightweight GT3, which has less power, a more focused chassis and much grippier Cup 2 tyres, or the containment of raw energy that is the new 911 Turbo S, which has 641 bhp, four-wheel drive, but also more weight and less rubber to lean on around the lap? Well, we did too, so let's find out.
I mean, you climb into this new GT3 and it just immediately feels almost like a racing car inside, and it sounds almost like a racing car, not just from the rawness of the engine. It's these big fat Cup 2 tyres. They pick up every stone that's anywhere on this track, just fire it into the wheel arches. The PDK gearbox is also a super trick piece of kit in the GT3. It's nothing like the one you get in the Turbo. This is a proper motorsport derived gearbox that you just so happen to be able to use paddles to shift with. You can do it with the lever as well, but it's much better with the paddles. And it feels like quite a big car, because it is a big car compared with the 991 GT3. But it's only a nudge heavier, 6 or 7 kilograms, I think, heavier than a 991. Lighter where it counts at all four corners. The dash is all fully digitized up, which I quite like, but I don't know, I quite like some old school stuff too. But the oily bits in this car are just something special. They really are. You've got all sorts of modes here: normal, sport, track, and then within those modes you've also got menus that you can play with. I've got it in track and I've got everything switched off. You can put it in track and have the TC and the stability control switched on if you want, but I've got it in track and then gone back into the menu and switched everything off. And just as ever, it's the motor, it's the gearbox, it's the looks, it's the sound, but probably most of all, it's the way it stops. This thing's brakes are immense. Anyway, enough of all that. It is time to set a lap in the GT3. That is just something special under brakes into there. It's quite a wrestling match, I have to say. You kind of do the reins up and hang on tight. I short shifted deliberately out of there. Whoa. My word, this thing is fast. Struth, you really need to have a little bit of a word with yourself when you're doing that kind of thing in this car on this track. Whoa, blimey. But if you do and you don't engage with the undergrowth, 42.2 is the lap time. That's the fastest lap I have ever recorded on any road car around this track. And my God, does it feel it. I don't think the 911 Turbo has a hope in hell of getting anywhere near that time. Actually, no, rephrase that. It will get quite close to that time because it is savagely fast in a straight line, but I don't now think it's going to be that lap time. I wasn't sure before we did this, having now driven the GT3 but not yet the Turbo against the stopwatch. I am sure this is the quicker of the two. Let's find out.
The GT3's time was actually 42.29 seconds, so we'll round that up to 42.3, which is still the quickest time we've ever recorded on a road car at Landau. So could the more potent but heavier Turbo S get anywhere near that time?
It's quite hard to explain just how different the 911 Turbo S feels and drives compared with the GT3. It just immediately feels so much softer. Not baggy as such, but just kind of more cuddly and friendly. That's because it is set up to be softer. The responses from everything are nowhere near as sharp or crisp or immediate. But when you put your foot down along even a very short piece of straight, my goodness me, this thing just takes off. It has so much torque. I know it's got 100 plus horsepower more than the GT3, but that's not the big difference. There are two big differences. No, there are three big differences. One is the torque. This thing has so much torque you can pull a block of flats over. Two is the gearbox. It's the 8-speed PDK from the regular 992, not the Motorsport variable like you get the GT3. And that makes a big difference on a track, because you don't have the snap. And the other difference is the tyres. GT3's on Cup 2s, this thing's on Goodyears. Nothing wrong with a set of Goodyears, but they ain't a set of Cup 2s. Anyway, actually, do you know what? There is one more big difference, and that is I think it's 215 kilograms. That's a huge amount more weight that you have to carry. But this is four-wheel drive, remember, so let's see, starting there. Crikey, it goes so quick in a straight line, this thing. But it does stop. You just need more space in which to stop. It's as simple as that. I've got everything switched off. Shift out onto this straight, put my foot down. It's still wanting to go sideways. And then it just tears down this back straight. God, blimey. Oh, careful, Tony. But you can kind of back it in slightly, but you do have to short shift. The time stops there. Oh, I'm getting the giggles. I'm getting the giggles, but not necessarily for the right reason. The safety belt system thinks we're having an accident. I don't blame it, actually, because it's trying to strangle me. It went off halfway around the lap and went gunk. Oh, my goodness me. It is a bit of a wrestling match, and you are aware of how much more weight you're having to manage in the turbo, but crikey, it goes harder than the GT3 down the straights. You need more space to stop. The traction is better. Just the agility, you know, there aren't many crucial turns around this track. The GT3's aero is not really getting into its stride anywhere around this track. But the difference, look, the difference is it's over half a second. And believe you me, the 911 Turbo S 992 is not a slow vehicle around this track. That's how quick the GT3 is. I think the GT3 feels less terrifying than the Turbo S when you're really trying to lead on it. Because you can put the GT3 where you want to. You make a mistake, you're in trouble. This thing feels like it's slightly trying to make mistakes for you, and there's a big difference. They're both immense, but give me the GT3 any day. On the road, and definitely on the track.
So there you go. Despite giving away 138 bhp, 330 Newton meters of torque, 1 gear ratio and 2 driven wheels, the lighter, more focused GT3 blew the Turbo S away. And remember, around a more open track where its aero could properly let rip, the GT3 would be quicker still relative to the Turbo S. So here endeth the lesson on weight, tyres and lap times. The GT3 wins easily. All other future contenders, beware.